Take a deep breath. Let's hear a story about Catherine, a talented gymnast who found her way back to her passion while balancing corporate responsibilities. The morning sun filtered through the large windows of Catherine's office, casting a warm glow on the medals and trophies displayed on the mahogany shelves. At 32, Catherine Morgan had the poised demeanor of someone who had spent her childhood mastering control over every muscle in her body. Her chestnut hair was always pulled back into a neat bun, a habit from her days as a young gymnast that she never quite abandoned. The gentle ticking of the antique clock on her wall reminded her of the rhythmic counting during her floor routines, a comforting and familiar sound that grounded her amid busy days. Catherine's journey began in the small town of Meadowbrook, where the local gymnasium had become her second home by the age of 6. Her tiny hands, wrapped in chalk, would grasp the uneven bars as her coach, Miss Elaine, patiently guided her through each movement. The smell of chalk and the soft squeak of feet on balance beams filled her earliest memories, creating a sensory tapestry that still brought a smile to her face. Those childhood years were painted with the brilliant colors of potential and dreams, each somersault and handstand bringing her closer to the Olympic aspirations she harbored. The Morgan family home sat on a hill overlooking the town, a testament to her father's success in building his business empire. Richard Morgan had started with a single hardware store that expanded into a chain of home improvement centers across 3 states. Catherine would often watch him from the doorway of his study, admiring how his fingers danced across calculators and ledgers with the same precision she applied to her gymnastics routines. Though different in nature, she recognized a discipline in both pursuits, a recognition that would later serve her well. Miss Elaine saw something special in Catherine, not just her natural talent, but her unwavering dedication. "Breathe through the difficulty," she would whisper as Catherine prepared for challenging sequences. "Feel the air fill your lungs, feel your heart steady, and then let your body do what it knows." These words became a mantra that extended beyond the gym, helping Catherine navigate life's various challenges with the same measured breath and focused determination. By 12, Catherine was competing at regional levels, her bedroom gradually filling with ribbons and medals that caught the late afternoon light. The weight of potential rested on her narrow shoulders, but she carried it with grace beyond her years. Her mother, Elizabeth, would brush Catherine's hair before competitions, the gentle strokes calming both mother and daughter as they shared quiet moments of connection. These tender rituals became anchors in Catherine's busy schedule, reminding her that amid the pursuit of excellence, there was also simple joy to be found. The Morgan dinner table was where gymnastics and business intersected in lively conversations. Richard would discuss market expansions while Catherine shared details about new routines she was mastering. Elizabeth, a former dancer herself, understood the physical demands of her daughter's passion and ensured nutritious meals that fueled both body and mind. The clinking of silverware against china plates formed a gentle soundtrack to these family discussions, creating memories that Catherine would later cherish during her busiest adult days. Weekends often found Catherine and her father attending business functions together, where she observed his networking skills with curious eyes. "Watch how people connect," he advised as they entered rooms filled with potential partners and clients. Business, like gymnastics, is about balance and knowing when to make your move. Catherine absorbed these lessons alongside her athletic training, unaware of how seamlessly these worlds would eventually merge in her future. The local library became Catherine's refuge when she needed quiet contemplation. Among rows of books, with sunlight streaming through tall windows and the subtle scent of paper and binding glue, she would study both business journals and gymnastics magazines. The soft rustle of turning pages matched her steady breathing as she absorbed knowledge that fed both passions, finding unexpected connections between principles of momentum in gymnastics and market movements in business. At 16, Catherine's Olympic dreams seemed within reach as she qualified for national competitions. The taste of possibility was sweet, like the honey tea she sipped to soothe her throat before performances. Each evening she would stand on her balcony, feeling the cool breeze against her skin as she visualized her routines with eyes closed, the distant chirping of crickets creating a natural metronome for her mental choreography. However, fate had different plans when Catherine's father fell ill during her critical pre-Olympic training period. The hospital corridors became as familiar as the gymnasium's walkways, the antiseptic smell replacing chalk dust in her daily routine. Richard's usually commanding voice grew softer as he spoke of succession plans and the family legacy, his hand trembling slightly as he pointed to folders containing business details that Catherine had never expected to need so soon. Though Richard eventually recovered, the realization of business fragility had awakened something in Catherine, a sense of responsibility toward what her father had built. The soft beeping of hospital monitors gave way to the hum of office equipment as she began spending more time learning the business operations. The transition wasn't abrupt, but rather a gradual shift, like the slow changing of seasons, with Catherine finding herself increasingly drawn to understanding the enterprise that supported her family. Her final major competition as a gymnast came just after her 18th birthday, a bittersweet culmination of years of training. The familiar butterflies danced in her stomach as she stepped onto the mat, the lights overhead warm against her skin. Catherine performed with a newfound emotional depth, each movement flowing into the next, like water finding its natural course. When she completed her final routine, the applause washed over her like gentle rain, and though she hadn't reached Olympic heights, she felt a profound sense of completion and gratitude. College brought new rhythms to Catherine's life, business classes during the day and volunteer coaching at a local gymnasium in the evenings. The smell of textbooks mingled with the familiar chalk dust that still clung to her gym bag. Her muscles remembered what her mind was beginning to translate into different contexts, the principles of momentum, balance, and precision that applied to both business strategy and athletic performance. As she helped young gymnasts find their center on balance beams, she also discovered her own new equilibrium between past dreams and future realities. 10 years after college, Catherine sat in her father's former office, now hers, reviewing quarterly reports with the same focus she once applied to perfecting routines. The Morgan Home Improvement chain had expanded to 5 states under her leadership, each store a testament to careful planning and execution. Through the open window, she could hear birds singing in the oak tree outside, their melodies a pleasant counterpoint to the structured numbers on her screen. Catherine paused, closing her eyes briefly, to savor the moment of accomplishment that felt as satisfying as nailing a difficult dismount. The persistent feeling that something was missing had been growing within Catherine, despite her business success. Each time she drove past the Meadowbrook Gymnasium, a familiar longing would surface like a gentle tide. One evening, after a particularly demanding board meeting, she found herself pulling into the gym parking lot, drawn by an inexplicable force. The sound of squeaking mats and coaches' instructions greeted her ears as she opened the door, the familiar scent of chalk enveloping her like an old friend's embrace. Inside, she watched young girls practicing on equipment that seemed smaller than she remembered. Their faces showed the same mixture of determination and joy that had once defined her childhood. The current owner, Mr. Patterson, recognized her immediately and approached with a warm smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "We always hoped you'd find your way back here," he said, his voice carrying over the ambient sounds of the gymnasium, his words settling into a space in Catherine's heart that had been waiting to be filled. Their conversation flowed easily, like old friends picking up a paused dialogue. Mr. Patterson spoke of his upcoming retirement and concerns about the gym's future, his weathered hands gesturing toward the children practicing with obvious affection. Catherine felt something shift inside her, like puzzle pieces finally finding their proper arrangement. The fluorescent lights overhead seemed to brighten as possibilities began to form in her mind, illuminating a path she hadn't previously considered but that suddenly seemed inevitable. Over the following weeks, Catherine developed a business plan that would allow her to purchase the gymnasium without compromising her responsibilities to the family business. Her home office became a nest of spreadsheets and projections, the soft glow of her computer screen illuminating late nights of planning. The gentle purring of her cat, Tumble, provided comforting company as she worked, occasionally stretching across important papers as if to remind her to take breaks and breathe deeply. Catherine's assistant, Michael, became an invaluable ally in reorganizing her corporate responsibilities. Think of it as creating space for a new routine, he suggested one afternoon as they restructured her meeting schedule, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across her office floor. Together they identified tasks that could be delegated, meetings that could be consolidated, and processes that could be streamlined. With each adjustment, Catherine felt lighter, as if she were shedding weights that had been invisibly tethering her to a singular path. The day Catherine signed the papers to purchase Meadowbrook Gymnasium coincided with the anniversary of her final competition. The symmetry felt right, a perfect full-circle moment that caused goosebumps to rise on her arms as she signed her name. Mr. Patterson handed her the keys with misty eyes, the metal warm from his palm as it transferred to hers. These children need someone who understands both passion and practicality, he said softly, his words carrying the weight of trust and expectation that Catherine welcomed rather than feared. Renovating the gymnasium became Catherine's joy, a project where her business acumen and gymnastic knowledge merged perfectly. She selected new equipment with careful consideration, running her fingers over surfaces to ensure quality and safety. The sound of construction, hammers tapping, and drills whirring created an industrial symphony that promised renewal. Catherine often brought her lunch to eat among the controlled chaos, finding peace in watching her vision gradually materialize like a routine, coming together through patient practice. News of Catherine Morgan taking over the town's gymnasium spread quickly through Meadowbrook. Parents began calling about enrollment, many remembering Catherine's own accomplishments years before. The phone would ring with a cheerful chime that Catherine never tired of hearing, each call representing another child who might discover the same joy and discipline that had shaped her life. Each evening after the site workers left, Catherine would walk the partially renovated space alone, the setting sun casting a golden glow through the windows as she envisioned children learning and growing in this sacred space. The challenge of balancing both worlds became evident as the gymnasium's opening approached. One Tuesday morning, Catherine found herself simultaneously reviewing construction updates and quarterly business projections, her desk a landscape of two different but equally important responsibilities. The pressure momentarily overwhelmed her, bringing back memories of pre-competition anxiety. Closing her eyes, she recalled Miss Elaine's words about breathing through difficulty, feeling the air fill her lungs deliberately before exhaling slowly, allowing her mind to regain its equilibrium like a gymnast finding her center. Opening day arrived with perfect early autumn weather, sunlight streaming through the new skylights Catherine had insisted on installing. Children and parents gathered outside, their excited chatter creating a bubbling energy that reminded Catherine of competition days. The bright blue ribbon stretched across the entrance fluttered gently in the breeze as Catherine approached with scissors in hand. The cool metal against her fingers centered her in the moment, and as she cut the ribbon, the cheer that erupted was sweeter than any applause she had received as a competitor. Catherine hired coaches carefully, seeking those who understood that gymnastics was about more than physical skills. During interviews, she would observe how candidates interacted with the equipment, noting whether they touched the balance beam with reverence or casually leaned against the vault. Each apparatus teaches different life lessons. She explained during training sessions, the new mats squeaking softly beneath her feet as she demonstrated proper spotting techniques. Our job is to help children discover those lessons for themselves while keeping them safe. Within months, the Meadowbrook Elite Gymnastics Academy developed a waiting list. Parents drawn to Catherine's philosophy of balanced development. Mornings found her in corporate meetings, afternoons at the gym working with her coaching staff, and evenings often spent with the youngest team of aspiring gymnasts. The transition between worlds became smoother with practice, like a well-executed series of connected elements in a floor routine. Catherine found herself sleeping more soundly than she had in years, the physical tiredness from coaching blending with the mental exercise of business to create a wholeness that had previously eluded her. One Wednesday afternoon, Catherine noticed a particularly determined 7-year-old struggling with a basic cartwheel. The girl's frustration was evident in her furrowed brow and quivering chin as she repeatedly tried and fell. Catherine knelt beside her, the soft mat compressing beneath her knees as she gently placed her hands on the girl's shoulders. Sometimes our bodies need to understand the movement in a different way, she explained softly, guiding the child through a modified approach. When the girl finally executed a wobbly but complete cartwheel, her face illuminated with pride, Catherine felt a fulfillment that no business success had ever provided. 5 years after opening the academy, Catherine sat on a bench watching her junior team practice their routines for an upcoming regional competition. The afternoon light filtered through the windows, creating patches of warmth on the gymnasium floor where dust particles danced in golden beams. Her business continued to thrive under her guidance, but these hours in the gymnasium had become the heartbeat of her weeks, moments where time seemed to slow and simple joys became magnified. The rhythmic sound of feet hitting mats and the occasional encouraging shout from coaches created a familiar symphony that soothed Catherine's soul. The Morgan Business Conference Room had been transformed with the addition of small display cases holding team photos and competition medals from the academy. Corporate visitors often expressed surprise at this integration, but Catherine viewed it as a natural extension of her philosophy. Both environments require precision, planning, and the courage to take calculated risks. she would explain as she led tours through the headquarters building. The soft hum of the climate control system provided a background to these explanations, maintaining a comfortable atmosphere where business and passion could coexist in visible harmony. Catherine had developed a scholarship program for promising gymnasts whose families couldn't afford training, funded through a percentage of the business profits. The application letters were kept in a beautiful wooden box on her desk, each one representing a child's dream that resembled her own from decades earlier. On difficult days, she would select one to read, the earnest words written in developing handwriting, serving as a reminder of the impact her dual path allowed her to have. These moments of connection with the scent of paper and hope mingling in her office centered her more effectively than any meditation practice. The quarterly meetings where business managers and head coaches gathered together had initially raised eyebrows, but soon became a cornerstone of Catherine's operating model. Different expertise, shared values became the unofficial motto of these sessions, where ideas flowed across traditional boundaries. The conference room would fill with the gentle clinking of coffee cups and the soft scratching of pens on notepads as unexpected collaborations formed. Catherine would often sit back in these moments, watching with quiet pride as her two worlds found common language and purpose, like separate melodies harmonizing into something richer than either could be alone. Parents often approached Catherine after competitions, their voices filled with gratitude for the confidence their children had developed. One mother, eyes glistening with unshed tears, described how her formerly shy daughter now approached school presentations with the same mental preparation she used before beam routines. These conversations usually took place in gymnasium lobbies, with the background sounds of children's laughter and distant coaching instructions, creating a fitting soundtrack to stories of transformation that extended far beyond athletic accomplishments. Catherine's office overlooking the main gymnasium floor became a symbolically important location, with large windows and a desk positioned to view the training areas. She could simultaneously handle business calls and observe coaching sessions. The subtle sounds of business and gymnastics would blend, the soft ping of incoming emails mixing with the distant thud of dismounts. On her desk, fresh flowers were a weekly indulgence, their sweet fragrance a small luxury that reminded her to pause and appreciate beauty amid responsibility, their colorful blooms catching her eye during transitions between tasks. The annual staff retreat brought together employees from both the business and gymnastics worlds. Catherine chose locations with natural beauty, lakeside lodges or mountain cabins where the sound of water lapping shores or wind rustling through trees could be heard through open windows. Team-building exercises often incorporated elements from both disciplines, with business analysts finding themselves learning trust falls while gymnastics coaches tackled strategic planning scenarios. Laughter would echo across these gatherings, creating bonds that strengthened both organizations through their unexpected connections. Catherine established a mentorship program pairing business interns with advanced gymnasts, creating unlikely partnerships that benefited both groups. The young gymnasts learned about setting professional goals and managing time, while business students gained insights into discipline and resilience. These pairs would often meet in the small garden Catherine had planted between the corporate office and gymnasium, a transitional space with lavender and rosemary plants, whose soothing scents created a natural environment for open conversations. Bees would buzz gently among the flowers, nature's reminder that seemingly different elements could work together toward common purposes. On Catherine's 40th birthday, her staff surprised her with a celebration that honored both aspects of her life. The corporate atrium was transformed with streamers in the Academy's colors, and displays highlighting milestones from both journeys lined the walls. The combined singing of Happy Birthday from business professionals and young gymnasts created a uniquely beautiful harmony that brought tears to Catherine's eyes. The marble floor beneath her feet felt solid and supportive as she stood surrounded by the community she had built, the cool stone a grounding presence as emotions washed through her. The story of Catherine Morgan began appearing in business magazines and sports publications, often featured as a case study in successful life integration. Journalists would visit, their recording devices capturing the unique soundscape of her dual domains, keyboards clicking in offices, coaches counting out rhythms for routines. Though Catherine approached these interviews with her usual modesty, she recognized the importance of showing others that dreams don't need to be abandoned, but can transform. The soft whir of camera shutters documented a life that had found unexpected balance, preserving images of what was possible when passion and practicality were viewed as partners rather than opponents. The National Gymnastics Organization invited Catherine to join their advisory board, recognizing the innovative approach of her academy. During quarterly meetings in the capital, she would share her experiences of building community through sport while maintaining business viability. The formal conference rooms with their polished tables and subtle scent of furniture polish were far removed from chalk-dusted gymnasiums. Yet Catherine navigated both with equal comfort. Her contributions often focused on accessibility and inclusion, ensuring that the joy of gymnastics could reach children from all backgrounds, just as it had reached her decades earlier. Summer evenings became Catherine's favorite time at the Academy, when the building quieted after busy days and golden light slanted through western windows. She would often walk slowly through the space alone, running her fingers along equipment that had supported countless young bodies learning to fly. The building would settle around her with occasional creaks and sighs, like a living entity resting after purposeful exertion. In these peaceful moments, with the faint, lingering scent of chalk in the air and the day's energy still somehow present, Catherine felt profound gratitude for the dual path that had led her here. Catherine's father, now in his 80s, visited both the business headquarters and academy regularly, his pride evident in his brightened eyes and gentle pat on Catherine's shoulder. "You've built something remarkable," he told her one afternoon as they watched a class of beginners taking their first cartwheels, the children's delighted giggles filling the gymnasium with joyful sound. Richard Morgan had once worried about legacy, but now sat content in the knowledge that his daughter had honored his work while creating something uniquely her own. The wooden bench beneath them was worn smooth from years of supportive parents watching their children grow, a physical reminder of continuity and the passing of meaningful traditions.